Yo, what's going on guys? Dr. Schwaz here, and welcome back to another PvE class tutorial for Gears 5. Today I'm going to be discussing the Nomad class, previously known as Paddock back in Operation 4. To date, this is the most recent PvE class the Coalition added to the game. So the Nomad is an assault class. It says the Eye of the Storm. The Nomad is a deadly mobile sniper class that uses fear to create space for the team. His ultimate ability is Fear, and once activated, enemies will be put in a state of fear, meaning they will not attack you and will retreat. Does not affect bosses. And the passive ability is that they deal double damage to enemies under fear. Very useful passive, in my opinion. I think this is one of the strongest and unique classes in the game for both Horde and Escape. The damage resistance the class has, the damage output they can do, the stim in conjunction with the passive, ultimate, and skill card versatility gives them a level of crowd control and dominance that kind of makes them a top tier class in the game. So let's move on to the skill cards here now. Execution shield. So at level 6 it says take no damage while executing an enemy and gain 100% stim after the kill. What it doesn't say in the description is that you also heal to full health and then you gain the stim. So this is one of the strongest cards in the game because once it's level 6, the Nomad can execute enemies and remain immortal while doing the execution. So he can be shot at, nades can be thrown at him. Doesn't matter, he will not die during executing. Really useful, especially in close quarter combat situations like in Escape. A lot of times the Nomad can pick off enemies one by one and keep them off your teammates, allowing the Nomad to heal and get stim. Great card to run, especially when paired with the following two cards. So moving on to Phase. Executing enemies causes fear for 12 seconds within 10 meters. So this card works really well with the execution shield. So when you execute enemies, you're going to gain health and full stim. And then once you do that, it'll cause fear via this card for nearby enemies within 10 meters for 12 seconds. And then when those enemies are in fear, you can execute them and then cause another cycle of fear. And then this card basically allows you, via executions, continuous executions, to continue cycling fear over and over again. If you're running a close range Nomad build, I'd definitely recommend this card. It allows you to cycle through fear very efficiently. Menace says executing an enemy gives 50 seconds of ultimate recharge. This is a card that cools down the ultimate basically, so Nomad's base ult recharge is one of the quickest in the game, roughly 200 seconds, so it'll take about 4 executions to recharge the ultimate fear. This is an amazing card to pair with Execution Shield and Phase, because it'll allow you to cycle through fear as the class deals with enemies in close range, allowing the rest of your Horde and Escape team to focus on other tasks. Great card to run and compare it with Phase and Execution Shield. And I'll have some gameplay showing short range Nomad in action, Horde and Escape. So stay tuned. Lifeline says anyone who kills an enemy in fear state heals and gains 50% stim. This is a great skill card I like to run as it allows other teammates to gain stim off of feared enemies. This card it's great in Horde because it helps your teammates out. Horde and Escape works really well in short and long range builds. It is a little bit buggy. I've noticed sometimes your teammates may kill enemies in fear and they may not get stim, but that's TC for you sometimes. So definitely a great card to run because it gives lots of classes other opportunities to gain stim. Classes that may need them to be more effective or just to survive a little longer. Great card to run in my opinion. Moving on to Armored Shot, it says deal 60% bleeding damage with ballistic weapons while you have stim. This is a great situational card to use, especially in close range builds. I think it's better in close range builds, where you are executing enemies to keep them in fear. Um, Really useful in escape, where you can quickly kill larger enemies like Scions or DR1s with a Nasher or a Marxa while they're in fear. I have noticed that in long range situations, in Horde, like on a master level, the skill card becomes harder to justify using because of the ability to lose stim super easily, which is why I kind of recommend Armored Shot as a card to use when you're like putting a bunch of enemies in fear, and then you run into a Scion, you want to shoot it in the back a couple of times, and then continue executing drones, like that kind of thing. Armored Shot is really good for. Moving on to the other gold card, which is Intimidation. It says killing an enemy with a critical hit applies 12 seconds of fear to enemies within 5 meters. So if you're going for more of a sniper role as Nomad, this is definitely a great card to run. As long as you're getting headshots, you're putting nearby enemies in fear for 12 seconds within 5 meters. The cool thing about this card is since you get a headshot, it briefly activates fear in nearby enemies, so they go through the animation of like sort of tilting their head back, and they stand there for a second or two before moving around. In that time, since that enemy is briefly stunned because of the activation of fear, the passive will come into effect where you can deal double damage to that enemy. So once they're standing still briefly, you can get a shot or two off with a sniper or Marxa and do double damage to it. And if you're running the bleed card, it's even more damage. So it's really useful in that situation. And then if that second enemy is near another enemy and you headshot it, you can intimidate the others. So really good useful card to run for that respect. I like pairing the card with Lifeline. Allows you to gain stim off of enemies that you kill via putting them in fear via this card. Really good card to run if you choose to sort of run the more sniper build. Consecutive shot. Hits increase critical damage 33%, each hit up to a maximum of 200% additional damage. This is a great skill card to run if you're using Nomad in long range situations. It can be super rewarding, however it requires you to be super accurate. What I've noticed is there's no cooldown on like the damage stacks, so like if you hit a headshot for whatever amount of damage and then 3 minutes later you don't shoot any bullets and then hit another headshot, it will increase the damage. So there's no reset time to when you have to get the head hits in, which is really cool. I have noticed some odd behavior with the card, like it doesn't really stack well with Armored Shot. And then I noticed when I was sitting in Marcus's ultimate once, the damage numbers are jumping up and down. A little weird, but if you take your time with the shots, this is going to be a great card to try out. I'd definitely recommend it. I've seen damage numbers up to like 5,000 damage a shot for an active Mark's headshot, which is really, really good. So, definitely a great card to try out. Does require accuracy, so be on your sniping A game. Marksa Mastery, it says deal 70% extra damage and 35% active effects with the Marksa. This is a good skill card to run for the sniper build because it pairs well with consecutive shot, which I was just talking about, and the other damage cards. The Marksa may take some getting used to, but this extra damage along with the Horde Perks kind of make it a pretty fun weapon to use. Definitely recommend trying it out, and if you want to hone up your Marksa skills, there you go. It's a card you can use for that. Powered Sprint says picking up energy heals for 100% health. This is an okay skill card to run, but since it's so situational and you only heal for the small duration that you're picking up power, and that since it's only useful in Horde, I think there are better cards to run. For this class, this class can get health in so many other ways. So not really a card I would recommend running. So deal 30%, acceleration says deal 30% additional damage to targets over 15 meters away. This is a good card to run in long range sniper situations. In conjunction with like other damage cards, It can make the Nomad a pretty viable character class on Master difficulty. So it's just an extra damage card. If you're going to be sniping Marksa or long shot, um, like on a map like Blood Drive or something, you could run this card and be um, a little bit more damage, and then plus the perks, which will help out as well. Concussive rounds, headshots on drones, shepherds and deadeyes with Boltox stun for 4 seconds. This is a card I like running, especially in Escape, because it gives you another way to execute enemies without using the triple combo, which can be risky, or a chainsaw or retro charge. So basically, when you stun the enemy with a Boltox, it allows you an opportunity to run up to the enemy and hit B and knife execute it. An awesome thing about this card is that there is no radius that you have to be within to stun the enemy that you're shooting. So you can be 20 meters away, however far away, halfway across the map, and if you Boltox headshot a drone, it'll be stunned for 4 seconds. This can briefly keep enemies at bay, preventing your squad from being overrun and Escape. And in Horde, it can be another opportunity for you to execute enemies and continue putting enemies in fear. So great card to run, especially on situations where you have lots of drones. So like the Detour, I could see being useful, stuff like that. The Surge, for example. Nasher proficiency increases the damage and active effects by 30% when firing a Nasher. The standalone card, it's okay to run if you have a Nasher available. In Horde, you're going to spawn with one, and in Escape, almost every hive has one. It's not a great standalone card because it's not a lot of damage, but if you pair it with like Armored Shot, it could be pretty good. Take out like larger enemies, Scions, DR1s. Try it out. Let me know if it works for you. Moving on to Rain Down. Deal 30% extra damage when at least 1 meter above the target. So, this is a great card to run on maps like on Horde that can dominate a base setup on high ground. So, like maps like Blood Drive, Exhibit, Clock Tower, Gridlock, Vaskar. If you're running like a long range sniper build, I'd recommend running this card with the other damage cards like Marks and Mastery, Consecutive Shot, or Acceleration to maximize the DPS the Nomad can put out. Fierce Amora increases the distance the enemies are affected by your ultimate ability by 6 meters. I believe the base duration is 10 meters, so this extends it to 16. This is a much better card, I believe, in Escape versus Horde, since you may risk slowing down the Horde run by forcing enemies to retreat for no reason other than just to do it. In Escape, it can keep your team safe and help your other teammates focus on other areas of the battlefield. Keep in mind, this increases just the base duration of the Fear ultimate, and it doesn't stack with other versions of Fear like Phase Fear or Intimidation Fear. So, moving on to Nomad Armor, 32% damage resistance on ballistic weapons and 15 meters. On a master level, that's not enough for damage resistance to really make a huge difference. I could see you running it in. I could see running it on certain hives, just to increase a little bit more tankiness. But I would certainly pair it with this next card if you were to run it, which is Precision Resistance. So it's 30% damage resistance on precision rifles. This is super situational, but it can be beneficial in like Horde dailies or escapes that have freezing or sniper mutators. Especially when you pair it with Nomad armor, you can get 64% resistance. Other than that, I think Nomad's got better cards to offer to help him keep him alive. This is too situational to being shot by precision rifles. So, yeah. Moving on to Terror, it says extend the fear duration to 15 seconds. I believe the base duration is somewhere around 8 or 9. This is a great card to run if you're playing this short range Nomad build like an Escape. Keeping enemies in fear longer can help your team catch its second win, especially after being overrun in Horde or Escape. In Horde, this card could be viewed as inconvenient because You're putting enemies in fear longer, which means they run to the edges of the map. They're harder to find, harder to kill, etc. And then if you can run score boost and epic score boost if you are trying to go for a high score run in Escape or a score run in Horde. Those cards are always available for your use. Alrighty guys, so went through all the skill cards, so now I want to go through some of the card setups that I run for Nomad. So there are basically two stacks setups I use. One, the close range build I like to run is Execution Shield, Phase, Menace, Armored Shot, and Lifeline. The final two cards, Armored Shot and Lifeline, you could replace depending on the map or the situation with like Nomad Armor or Terror or Fearsome Aura. But if I'm running a close range, short range Nomad build, I always want to run these three cards: Execution Shield, Phase, and Menace. Because of the synergy of those cards, you can continuously execute enemies and gain stim via Execution Shield. You can continuously keep enemies in fear via Phase, and you can recharge your ultimate every execution by 50 seconds via Menace. So those three cards work really well together. It allows the Nomad to cycle fear over and over again, which is basically what kind of the way the class works on close range. It's what pretty much keeps them alive for the most part. The long range build I like to run, and this is mostly Horde. In Escape, you pretty much keep the same stack. In Horde, if I'm running long range, I like to run Intimidation, which is puts enemies in fear every time you get a headshot. Within 5 meters, enemies are feared from the headshot or critical hit you get. Lifeline, it says, gives you stim and healing off of killing an enemy in fear. Marks of Mastery I like to run just because it gives me practice using it and makes it a little more rewarding. And then I like to run Acceleration and Consecutive Shot just to increase the damage output of the Marxa. Also works to increase the damage output of the long shot too. Acceleration is going to work because it'll give you extra damage outside of 15 meters. Consecutive Shot will work really well if you're accurate. Really rewarding. You can almost, I believe, if you have enough stacks of damage, you can one-shot Scions in fear. I've seen it, so really useful. Then you can replace it with Rain Down. Some of these cards with Rain Down or Armored Shot if you want. But yeah, long range build, typically I run Intimidation and Lifeline. Marks of Mastery, Acceleration, and Consecutive Shot. I have all the cards on the screen while I'm talking so you can see. Coming up, I've got Horde Perks and Nomad gameplay. Stay tuned for that. Alrighty guys, so the Nomad's got Horde Perks I'm going to talk about here are Health, Critical Damage, Precision Weapon Damage, and Ammo Capacity. So depending on how I'm playing the class and the cards that I'm running, if I'm running the long range Sniper Nomad build, I'll perk up Critical Damage first, and then Precision Weapon Damage, Ammo Capacity, and then Health. However, if I'm running the close range and execution build, I'll kind of go in the other way around, where I want to prioritize the health first, then the critical damage, then the precision weapon damage, then the ammo capacity. So the way you level up the perks is dependent on your personal preference, but depending on the way I play the class, I may perk up certain perks earlier than others. But yeah, I'm just going to show up the perks on the screen one by one. The health goes up to 50%. Level 10, the critical damage goes up to 50%. The precision weapon damage goes up to 50%. And the ammo capacity goes up to 100%. I believe you get 120 Mark Z bullets and 30 long shot. Not sure about M-bar, but the M-bar is massively underpowered anyway, so you wouldn't be using the best class for M-bar is Robotics Expert anyway. Coming up after this, I'll have some Nomad gameplay in Horde and Escape. Most of it's Horde. You'll see a lot of gameplay of Nomad in execution build that I run, short range Nomad build, and then you'll see some of the gameplay long range. And pretty much that'll wrap up the tutorial, guys. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. And leave any comments below. And I will see you all on the next video. Peace.
Barrier repaired! Gotta reload, bastards! Wasted on floor! My mind has teeth! How noble! Look at you! You will perish! Finger check! Yes, I still have them. Another day covered in blood. Give me up! Perfect timing! Well, this sucks!
Scion! Let's even the odds!
All about this. Protect the energy tap!
Incoming fire!
Cover me! Reload Scion! Sniper spotted! Take out that basket! Oh, shit! Wasted a throw!